7 things to be aware when you are buying a brand new construction.
But first, let's hit it. Hi, it's Alan Victoria. Welcome to our Talent Podcast.
And if this is your first time in our podcast and YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and get notified.
Honestly, you can call the text all the time at 252-327-3357. We love talking to you. Do not be shy. Also, I want to point out from the fun of this video is when my husband and I first got married, he was always like, everything should be new. And I was like, no, old homes can be kind of fun. We did, our first home was on the older side, but then when we grew, he's like, no, new. He stuck to his guns. So we have a lot of personal experience with new construction. So it's kind of fun to talk about this whole, all 7 things we should be aware of.
Therefore, today, actually, we itemized 7 items really for many of you that you were thinking of buying new construction. When we start our list really by researching about the community ahead of a time. That is a very important thing that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah, when I tell people, like, we bought our home that we live in without ever seeing the house, people are a little shocked, like, oh my gosh, you really bought a house online? It's like, yeah, we did. But here's why I felt comfortable with it, because I did a lot of research on the community. So I didn't really have a lot of surprises. I understood this was a good community to be in. I said, oh, this sounds really interesting. The community is, essential to close to everything. It has a good reputation because it was phase 3 of the community. So it was one of those understanding what it is. So I didn't have to go to community meetings. Obviously I couldn't because I wasn't in the state, but I can say that I understood the value trends, what was going on in the community. You could already see appreciation happening, and the lifestyle made a lot of sense for me. So I do a lot of research online saying, do I want to live in this community? Does it match my family's needs? At this point, they were very young. So I wanted to make sure we were getting something of value for us. And so I did a lot of research online.
Brian, saying that we need to make sure that the amenity, schools, transportation, all the services that you need to be checked, and also looking at the infrastructure, the project, the development plan that the builders has. By doing all this research, you make sure that the community that you want to get a house exactly meets your needs.
Okay, the second thing we're going to talk about is something else that maybe I didn't do as good research on it myself, but it all worked out in the end. But you should always, because I should have done this research. Number 2, you should definitely research who the developer is and who the builder is in the area. Don't go by national reputations, because I can go online and read about horrible things that happen from national builders in other areas. Go by the local builders in the area, not these national brands who have, had a horrible situation in one state, 50 states from you. No, go with what's going on in the community. Understand who the developers are. Really kind of, if you do live in the area, definitely find out who the managers are, who the builders are, and find out what their reputations are.
Exactly. Basically, track record of all, as my wife said, their reputation, project, customer feedback, if you see any feedback. And also, if you talk to the previous homeowners that they already got into their house, they relocated, talk to them and see if they are happy with the builder, the services that the builder offers in that area.
Also, when you're deciding to buy new construction, definitely ask about the warranty programs. That is super important. And what happens after you buy a home? What is the responsiveness of that concern?
Exactly. The next one, that basically not protecting yourself throughout the home buying process, which is really hiring a real estate agent professionals.
Typically with new construction, they're going to try to just pull you in and just say you don't need any protection. It's actually not a good idea to do that. When you have a construction, you have negotiations, you have builders. It's better to have someone on your side reading these contracts saying, no, this is not what's going to happen with these legal documents. So you want buyer protection through the process. What happens if the one you bought falls through because the house didn't build a code, which has happened to me a couple times to my clients. It all worked out because we got them something else, because we could work out a deal and they weren't just high and dry. Sorry, can't help you. Bye bye. So you should always do your due diligence on this thing. Make sure that you're doing inspections.
Exactly, and especially if you're out of the states. And your real estate agent is really the key point of the all communication agreements. Any change during the construction with the builder is your real estate agent, and make sure that he or she doing all the due diligence for you, including inspection, if it needs to be hiring the surveyor.
And when you might think, I don't need inspections as new construction, let me give you one example, just one of what just recently happened to one of my clients who bought new construction. We did an inspection. Let me just talk about it real quick. We did an inspection, and we realized that the HVAC coils were actually, torn during the building inspection, so they had to replace the coils, which was something that you would not have necessarily noticed because the air conditioning was working that day, and you don't want to move into a house where you have air conditioning problems. So that I just kind of wanted to throw out, you should always do inspections.
Exactly. The next one really is not prioritizing your cost. This is another thing that you need to talk about it. What is that?
Okay, so maybe you're cool with buying new construction. You're like, I'm in, it's fine. The price is good. The interest rates, a lot of them have great interest rates. The resale value is there. But the problem is you're not going to get a fence. At least in our area, you're not getting a fence. You're not going to get a refrigerator. You're not going to get some of those upgrades that you might want, washer, dryer. The landscaping might not be to your amazement, like perfect, because things. So there are things that you're going to have to do to that house because just because it's new doesn't mean that you're project free. It doesn't mean your projects are going to be less in the house, less maintenance, but more putting it all together to make it really your own. And figure out what you want to do. Maybe you don't want a fence, but you want something. So how are you going to handle the tree line, whatever it is that you're looking for? But make sure that you have that in your budget or you're planning, understanding that you're going to do these down the road.
Exactly. Therefore, getting a multiple quote, as my wife said, from different contractor if you want to take on any project, for example, fencing, and make sure that you bring all these costs into the consideration when you want to purchase a brand new construction.
I know my husband said number 5 was where he wanted me to not talk about, which is basically home inspection. I just gave you a little preview earlier because it's not just HVAC coils that could get ripped during things. So much can stop. You can actually hire 3 different stages of inspections if you truly are concerned about this building process. You want to know about the plumbing, electric, HVAC as it's going down and in the house. You can have somebody for the pre-inspection. You can have somebody at the post-inspection. So they can see all the fixes happening in your house and they can modify as going. Typically, it's great to have an agent, and then if you're going to do all of these inspections, it's really important to have somebody on your side saying, hey, let's check these things out and then understand what is going on.
Exactly. The next one, number 6, actually my wife somehow mentioned that in the previous notes, but basically is home warranty and the timelines that you need to pay attention when you are buying a brand new construction.
Right, so your homework typically after closing day and after signing all those documents is going to really be those warranties. If you only have a certain amount of time in order to qualify for warranties that are going to last you 1, 2, 5, 20 years or the life of the product, then you need to make sure that you're, filling out the forms as needed. You're doing it in the time. So what are the implied warranties? What are the express warranties? What are they going to offer you? What are the limitations and what are there? For instance, when we bought our house, there was the day of the birds. I'm going to tell you, we have a street, everybody has new construction, we're on the same street with all the new construction, and I'm talking about the bird day. When we all looked out our windows and saw birds were living in our dryers, and it was all of our houses on the entire street. They had found a way to get into our dryers because they didn't put a netting, and so we all kind of had to have a community meeting because the builders weren't taking care of it, so we had to, figure out what to do. And it was a nice neighbor building because we did get to talk to our neighbors I think maybe for the first time for some of them because we all had the same drama going on in our house, the birds. But just be aware if the builder's not going to handle something like birds flying into your dryers thing, then what are you going to do about it? And it was really nice to, it was a simple fix. We all handled it. There's no birds, but yeah.
The next one actually, or the last one, we can say understanding the difference between a spec and pre-sale homes.
Which was actually the point of the entire video when we first started talking. We're like, hey, let's talk about spec versus pre-sale. And then this whole thing got pulled up.
Yes. Therefore, what is the spec homes? Basically, they are built by the builders without any specific buyer in mind. No?
Right, so they're going to be, the builder has decided whatever customizations they're going to do into that house. They're not going to do any more than that. There's a lot of spec homes that are in the market right now. They're quick move-ins. There's obviously going to be no changes to these homes, but they are still brand new, and that still gets you a brand new home. The benefits are...
The benefit, as my wife said, quick, ready to move, and you know what exactly you are getting or expecting.
Now, the drawback is there's really going to be no price negotiation, and you're not going to get any design choices. So if you don't like carpet, and this is a carpeted house, they're not going to change that for you in a spec home.
Exactly. Now, what is the pre-sale homes?
Right, a pre-sale homes is going to take a longer to buy. They're going to be built to your specification as the buyer. You're going to be allowed to customize. So if you do not like carpets, just one example, you can talk about it at the beginning of how you don't want carpets. It is a personalized design to you, and obviously it's going to have potential for increased value. I say potential because I have seen some buyers make some horrendous choices in their customization, like things that just don't match would actually decrease the value of the home, but they wanted it a certain way and things just don't match, and that's never good.
Exactly.
So the drawbacks are...
Because, as my wife said, longer wait period to get ready and potential for construction delay because you're adding something that they might not have in inventory and they need to purchase it for you.
Right. So, I mean, and I would also recommend, if you're not an interior designer, listen to at least go with the suggestions that your interior designer is saying, because at the very least they can tell you about resale, and that's important.
Exactly. And one last thing that I wanted to mention is a lot premium. No, when you go to the builders, many builders, when you're gonna go to the pre-sale home, they're gonna charge you for many lot premium. Make sure that think about the future and see if this is the location that you think, for example, is in cul-de-sac, that you pay that much and you get appreciation instead in the future. Therefore, you need to basically look at all these costs without paying attention and say, oh, I'm going to pay that much for the lot premium. But when you're looking at it, it's like a normal lot. It doesn't really make sense to pay extra.
So we hope you loved this video. We had so much fun talking about new construction. I hope you liked my bird story, among other things as well. And hit us in the comments and just or text me about any questions.
And if you wanted to actually share with us your experience if you bought a brand new construction or in the process of brand new construction, write us a comment. And thank you for supporting our channel. See you in the next podcast and video.